Man, our friend Scott Drew is with us on the Coach Me Up podcast. I've been waiting for about 5 or 6 episodes, Coach, to get you on, to get you closer to basketball season. And I know you're a loyal listener to us, right?
Well, I'm glad that you haven't had me on because I've learned so much, been so inspired. Chris, you and Jimmy do a great job, and your guests have been phenomenal. They've encouraged me spiritually to be a better husband, father. So thank you guys for taking the time to do this.
Thank you for that.
Yeah. So the first question for you. I know you're as competitive of a guy that I know. Like
most
Chris,
coaches are, right?
Yeah, the good ones are. The good ones are. Chris, about 2 weeks after he won the national title in 2021, he sends me this picture on my iPhone of this big bass that he caught and said, "Hey, I won the tournament." Like he was I think he won like 4 bass tournaments in a row right after he won the national title.
He was going good. He was going good.
Things were rolling for him.
Yeah.
What's the biggest bass this past summer, Coach?
Well, you know what? They weren't rolling this summer like they were that summer.
Yeah, they weren't.
So we won like eight out of 10 weeks in a row. We were first, second, or third place, and we win the national championship. We win the fishing tournament, and my fishing partner, obviously, he's the pro fisherman, and he puts us on the spots, and I just try not to mess things up. But we get done winning that one. He says, "Man, we got to go to Vegas. You're hot."
Yeah, well, you're deserving of all good things that have come to you. So, your preseason number 5 with Kansas right there out of the Big 12. Preseason number 5. Just briefly tell us a little bit about your team, and then we want to get going on some other stuff. But I want to talk a little bit of ball with you, if that's okay.
Oh, that's great. Excited for our team, like every coach is. Until you play a game and lose, everybody loves what they're doing. But the longer our staff's done this, we really tried to bring in high character individuals, great work ethic, young men, and most of all, people we want to be with every day. Jimmy, Chris, you spend time with your families. We spend so much time with our basketball team. We don't want to spend time with people that we don't want to be around. So we want positive people, energy givers. Life is too short to do it any other way, and I much rather have a little less talent and a better character and teammates, and I think they achieve more at the end of the day. I know I grow and improve as a husband, father, man every day being around. I learn from our guys, but we really shoot it. I know, Jimmy, you want to know, do we defend? I think we'll be a good defensive team. Hopefully we'll rebound, but I think we'll be fun to watch.
Scott, one of the things that I think is really neat about your story is you were raised by a legendary coach, right? You grew up in the home of a legendary coach. So our podcast is Coach Me Up. Coach me up on what that's like, number one, to be raised by a coach, and number two, maybe some of the best takeaways you have from your father that you've kept through the years, with whether it's home life, faith life, or as a coach yourself.
Wow, big question. I could go for the full 25 minutes on that one, or 30 minutes, whatever we have. But I can tell you that if a son follows in his father's footsteps, to me, that's the ultimate compliment, that your father did something right. And to me, my dad, the court's named after him. He's a Hall of Fame coach. He doesn't care about any of that. He loves his past players. He worked with Dale Brown from 72 to 76 at LSU. And between him and Coach Brown, I think they send more emails to their past players, offer more job recommendations for their past players. I remember when I was recruiting, I'd be like, "Dad, can we call a recruit?" And he's like, "No, I need to help so-and-so with the job." And I mean, it's really like a father for life. And that, seeing how he carried his program, and I thought he was a great coach, X and O's wise. We won a lot of games, but how he impacted young people. I know we're not taking any of this with us when we go to heaven. We're not buying our way into heaven, but I can promise when we go to heaven, hopefully there's a lot of people that can say, "You brought me closer to Christ, and you made my life better." And each and every day, if we can do that, it's been a great day.
Yeah, Scott, I've heard you Great answer on that, by the way. I love that. If a son follows a father, that's the ultimate compliment. We'll go to that after a while as well. I love that take. But I've heard you talk about your culture of joy. I want to dig into it though a little bit with you. I really want to know more about it. I want you to coach us up on how you came up with that JOY, what it means, and how does it actually play out every day for you, and how can it help us coach us up on that culture of joy, please?
Well, that's a great thing. You said, how did you get this? Like every coach, we copy other people.
Yeah, that's
right. So when we got to Baylor, Baylor's the largest Baptist school in the nation, and we're blessed to prepare champions for life. It's spiritual, it's academically, it's character formation, and athletically. So being at a Christian school, you can have a more of an impact spiritually with the people you coach, and that's a true blessing. And we've always had a Christ-centered culture. And Dabo Sweeney, when they won the national championship, talked about joy. When I talked to him afterwards, he got it from Tony Dungy. I've talked to Tony Dungy. I know he's gotten it from other people. But we got to the old KISS theory: keep it simple, stupid. But I mean, if your priorities are you want to be joyful in life, you want to play with joy, but to do that, you got to keep the priorities right. It's Jesus, others, yourself. And when you're serving Jesus, you're serving others. I mean, life is so much better. So we call them joy interviews. When you do an interview after the game and Jimmy says, how did your team accomplish what? If you give God the honor and glory and then you talk about your teammates, that's a joy interview. If you play that way where you're playing for others and you're playing for an audience of one, it really allows you to be fearless. And I know God did not give us a spirit of fear, but of love, power, sound mind. And we want to be fearless. We want to play for an audience of one. We want to have those priorities. I constantly try to remind myself. And as you know, whenever you prepare a lesson, you learn more than the people that actually you're giving the lesson to. And so each and every day trying to pour into our young people, I learn more from them and by doing that. But that's our culture. That's what we want to exemplify. Now, it's easy to say things. How do you do things that back them up? And for us, I mean, every day we're blessed. We start every practice in prayer, end in prayer. We start every staff meeting in prayer. If you got your priorities right, if you're Christ-centered, you can accomplish so much more. As far as we with our players, we have a character coach. He does weekly Bible studies with our guys. We do a staff Bible study once a week. But we try to intentionally, we spend so much time at the office, we got to be spiritually growing. We say this to our players all the time. You can eat a great meal today. Tomorrow you're hungry. Well, it's the same thing spiritually. You got to be fed each and every day spiritually. Right now, I know you're going to ask me, what are you reading? So I'm jumping ahead and I'm beating you to the punch.
There you go.
Good coaches analyze, prepare. So, but right now, our team, we're reading the book of John, and 60 days, our players have been challenged to read the book of John, and for some, it'll be the first time they've ever read the book of John. For others, maybe they haven't done it since 2nd, 3rd, or 4th grade. So, again, we try to get in the Word. We try to stay Christ-centered, focused, and then whenever we have opportunities to learn from others, we're going to do that.
The book of John, one of my favorite lines is at the end, John says, if all the miracles, if all the stories of Jesus were written down, there wouldn't be enough pages to fill them. And it's that intriguing, like, what are you not telling us, John? Give us more. I want to hear more. So good. Let me ask you this, because, maybe people picked up on Baylor recently, but it's not like you just got to Baylor, right? You've been at Baylor a long time, and you've been planting seeds and building that program, and have been on the national scene. But obviously, just recently won the national championship. Coach me up on keeping your joy, your energy, your perspective of once you climb that mountain and you've held the biggest trophy, like, How do we reset? How do we start all over? Like I would love to hear what last year was like for you in the kind of the wake of climbing the mountain.
Well, first and foremost, I know I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed, and it's always easier to learn from others that have been there. So I really try to do my due diligence and learn from the best. So last year after we won it all, or 2 years ago, reached out to everybody from Belichick to Coach K to Billy Donovan, and just how do you the next year, how do you try to repeat? And first of all, there is no repeating. It's a different team. It's a different journey. And coaches, I mean, we love the process. We love the journey. But every year is different. And our theme, what's impossible with man is possible with God last year, because it is so hard to go back to back. And there's only been 2 teams since John Wooden aired to do that. And we're 15-0, and then we lost our leading scorer, L.J. Cryer, for the year. We lost co-defensive player Jonathan Chamwachachua for the year. We still finished, and we started the year losing and Langston Love to an ACL. So some years you just have more adversity, more injuries, and we still were able to win conference, get a number 1 seed. You lose to North Carolina, who loses to Kansas in the championship game. So you're right there. You're knocking at the door. But it's a different year each and every year. And I tell you, the older we get, and I know perspective, the closer you come to when we're in the 30s, 40s, you're going to all these weddings. When you get in the 50s, you start going to more funerals. And really each and every year, I mean, it's about one day we're going to be in heaven, and who are we going to see up there? And every year you get a new team, and we want them to, again, prepare champions for life. So we want them to graduate. We want them to become better men. We want them to reach all their dreams on the court. But at the end of the day, I care most if we see them in heaven. And with the transfer portal, that's a positive. With people leaving to go pro early, that's a positive. You have more people to impact and be around and a part of each and every year, because your teams are so different. So I'm a positive guy. I like to look at that positivity of it, because you don't have as long with people, but you do have a chance to plant more seeds.
Hey Scott, I want to I'm going to circle back to joy again, because I'm a selfish guy. I've told Chris before, like, I wake up thinking about me a lot. I go to bed.
You're the only
about,
one, Jimmy, that does it.
I know I am. So I got 2 guys on here that can coach me up on it. No, I know.
I don't struggle with being selfish, just lying. Go ahead.
But for a coach in your position, as much success as you've had, I don't see that in you at all. I see you constantly giving of your time to others, whether it's a form of a podcast or an interview or sending out T-shirts, or just I would describe you as a very giving person that understands the importance of putting others first. How did you – I'm not saying you're excellent at it, but I know you're better than me. How did you get to that point in your life where others became more important than you? Because I wish I was there.
Well, I've had other people that have poured into me. My dad, Coach Brown, is another mentor that showed me just how they did things, and that's how you learn it. Like, everybody learns from who's coached them. Okay, so this is how you do it. No, there's actually other ways to do it. There's a lot of ways to get to 4. But God, one thing, He creates us all uniquely, and I love when other people are happy. So to see you be excited with anything, that makes me happy. When we won the championship, to see the joy from our players, our fans, to see we had a parade and we had all the past players walking at first. And that's an idea I got from Coach Few at the Final Four. You had all the past Gonzaga people come, but in all the past players, and be a part of it. Well, we had COVID, so we couldn't do that. So taking an idea from him, we had all the past players. We had 85-year-olds walking in the parade. They went
tremendous.
First. They laid the foundation. Like, to me, that was the coolest thing. And it's God's platform. First of all, everything comes from him. I know us coaches, I learned this. I thought Phil Jackson was an amazing coach, and then Michael Jordan goes and plays your sport, Chris, and all of a sudden he's a normal coach, because the Bulls aren't winning the championship when he's playing pro baseball,
Yeah.
So I mean, we're only as good as our players, so it's our championship. It's God's platform. It comes from him. We try to just honor him with it, and it's a great opportunity and blessing to have that for a season, because we all know that that's all life is a season.
I'm fascinated by the game of basketball. Jimmy and I have had this conversation, and I'm a youth basketball coach. I got a middle school team that I do my best with, and I always am telling them we got to make the game more than just about whether the ball goes in or not, right? It can't just be whether the ball goes in, we played good. Ball doesn't go in, we played bad. Like, no, the game is so much more than that. I love to hear, take me in a Scott Drew huddle on practice where we're breaking down the similarities between our faith life, about, life has to be more than just whether I got the job or I got it, and the similarities between our faith life and our basketball life, and how you intersect the two as you talk about raising these kids up and making their faith practical, right? Because it can't just be Bible studies. It's like, how does that show up on the court today? How does that show up when we get our tails kicked? How does that show up when my girlfriend walks out on me, or whatever the stuff you deal with your players? I'd love to hear how you intersect those two things.
Well, I've heard preach more, and when necessary, use words. And at the end of the day, our actions are so much more important than our words, and how we love people, how we care for people, how we interact with people. That it can't be, well, we're in a Bible study and we act one way. We pray, we act one way. We're in a team meeting, we act one way. We get on the court and we're completely different. I mean, we're supposed to have that joy in us no matter where we go and what we do. Now, it doesn't mean we don't hold people accountable. It doesn't mean we don't do our job and give 100%. I mean, when David fought Goliath, it wasn't like he walked or he tiptoed. I mean, he went after the giant. So Goliath knew he wasn't backing down from him, and we're going to give 100%. We're going to go full speed, and we're going to let God decide the results, but we're not going to have any regrets. And with holding people accountable, it makes it a little easier, because my personality, I mean, we have no cussing policy in practice, so we'll run lines for curse words, we'll do push-ups, whatever the punishment. So we got to hold people accountable different ways. And the great thing is, there is no right or I say it's getting a 4. And what I mean by 4 is 4 plus 0 equals 4, 3 plus 1 equals 4, 2 plus 2 equals 4. There's a million ways to coach. There's a million ways to do it. There's some players that benefit in our system and we do a better job with. There's some people that do better jobs in other systems. So it's not a cookie cutter approach and one fits everybody best. This is just how we do it. And with that, I think we bring in people that want to be great, that want to be pushed, that want to be held accountable, and from there we tell them what they're doing wrong and expect them to want to fix it. So that's just how we do things. And again, I think everything we do, you should be able to measure, because judgment, like one time, did he run hard? Did he not run hard? I mean, everything needs to be, did he go rebound? Did he not go rebound? Did he set a good screen? So we try to make everything measurable. And then we try to grade it, just like everybody grades different things after a game. But you're going to make shots, miss shots. The best shooters in the country from 3, I mean, they're missing 6 out of 10. The best baseball players are not getting a hit. I mean, 3 out of 10 hits get you in the Hall of Fame. So I mean, you got to prepare when you miss shots. You got to prepare when the ball's not going in the hole, like you said. Defenses travel. I know Jimmy likes that line.
Yeah, There's no doubt.
But
I stole it from somebody.
But at the end of the day, there's a lot of joy, energy, passion in what we do, how we do it. I think you see our practices are real upbeat, real fast moving. That's how the game's played. And And we don't want to have people walk into practice like, I got to go through a 3-hour practice. No, we want to be excited to be there. We want to be excited to be there. Again, you get on a podcast, you it's not like, oh, man, I got to be on this podcast. No, I get to be on this podcast.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Hey, Scott, I think a lot of followers of the way of Jesus, they deal with at certain times, maybe season to season, with complacency and passivity and just coasting and getting by. And we know the enemy loves that. How have you, this is your 20th year at Baylor. You've had a ton of success. It didn't start off easy for you, but now that you've had all this success and things are rolling for you, how do you guard against passivity, complacency as a coach, and how does that transfer over to us guarding our hearts, not being passive with our pursuit of God?
Yeah, great question. And you see that in players so often, like no one wants to be entitled. You don't want to be an entitled coach. You don't want to be an entitled player. And so often players think they've made it, and just because you get a 5-star ranking or a top 10 ranking or you're drafted in the NBA, it just starts the journey again. With us, I think it starts with iron sharpens iron. And I want to be around, just like why I listen to your podcast is I want to grow, I want to improve. And if you're staying status quo, people are passing you by. We get a short time on this life, and if it's 75, 80 years, 60 years, whatever we're blessed with, we want to make sure each and every year, I want to make sure I'm a better coach today than I was yesterday. And I think great players want to continually get better. I think the day that I don't want to improve as a coach, I'm letting our team, our staff, and everyone around me down, and that's when I need to get out. So it's you do things for others that you wouldn't do for yourself. And just like I know, Chris, we got up, we took the kids to school this morning. Personally, I'd rather slept in another hour, But it is a blessing taking the kids to school. I don't know about yours. Mine are wide awake and so joyful in the morning. But again, those when you do things for other people and you study a little more film, prepare a little bit harder, because you don't want to let people down. And people are counting on you. So that's something that and again, in this profession, you can do everything and still get embarrassed each and every night, and that keeps you on your toes, because nobody likes to get embarrassed. But again, as long as we have this platform, we want to honor God with it. We want to do everything we can, and surrounding yourself with people that make you better, hungry assistants that are talented, that are good, that make you better fathers, husband, and men. That's who I want to be around.
You talk about taking your kids to school. Everybody knows the demands of a job of your stature. I mean, I shouldn't say we know what they are, but we know it's a lot. We know it's not a seasonal gig. We know it's no small task. So how do you balance the two? We talked about, obviously, having a great role model with your dad, but how do you balance being intentional and engaged and present at home when I'm sure not just the film room is calling you, but I know that phone. I know that phone's calling you with recruits and messages and requests. Like, how do you balance that? Coach us up on that.
Well, when I had we had our third child, I went to another cup of coffee.
There you go.
Need a little more.
Amen. Yes.
But I can tell you that if each and every day, the more you prepare, the more you're organized, the more you can delegate. And I've gotten a lot better at delegating. I learned that from Coach K. I think when he went out with his back injury, when he came back, he really consciously delegated more. And you know what you find is things get done, and a lot of times they get done better than you would do them. So, and people grow that way, and they want to have those responsibilities. So delegating definitely helps with that. And then you got to multitask. I mean, I try to get the Peloton in a couple times a week. Say I do it 3 or 4 times a week, and I'm listening to podcasts like yours, because at the end of the day, who's motivating the motivator? And I get filled. And that's why I'm honored, and it's a privilege to be on here. I'd much rather have another one of your guests, because I've learned so much more from them. And I've loved being coached up from them. So we don't have much free time. And when you do, how are you filling your tank? And to me, if spiritually I can be filled during that time, it's a win.
Well, Coach, you're going to have another great year. I don't know what great equates to. You know, is an NCAA berth, is a Final Four? I don't know, but I do know that there are certain inner strengths, personalities, cultures that I trust in college basketball, and Baylor is definitely on that list. And so I know whatever I see from Baylor this year is going to be whatever Baylor was capable of being, which is all you can ask for. You know, I think that's kind of what we all are charged with in life is how, you know, the path that God puts us on, how hard do we chase after it, and do we hear the words, well done? And I know you're going to hear those words one of these days, because the platform that you've used, how you've used it, who you are, all the things that God has trusted you with it really stands out. I want you to know that you make a difference in a lot of people's lives. In my life, but a lot of people, eyes are on you, and they see that. Chris, I do want to say this. That culture of joy, when you hear Coach talk about it, it kind of, if you're not careful, it kind of be like, well, everything's just really nice and nice and cool, and they treat each other. That's a competitive, tough group. Much like Jesus was. He was tough and he was tender. And man, when those two things cross over, that's when great things happen. And that's how I see your team. You are tender. There's a lot of tenderness in your team with how you love one another, how you put others before you. But, man, there is a toughness, Chris, and a competitive fire that burns deep, deep, deep inside those guys that only comes from that daily leadership from Scott Drew. So, Scott, man, I want you to know how much I appreciate seeing that in you.
Sorry to interject here, but the character of Jesus that your boys are going to see in the book of John that I think is the most fascinating thing about him is the lion and the lamb. Yeah, and that's what you're talking about, right? This grit, but there's a compassion and empathy. And I want to close with that verse I was talking about that I hope you and your boys just circle. John 21:25, literally the last verse of the book of John. Jesus did many other things as well. If every one of them were written down, I suppose that even the whole world would not have room for the books that would be written. Come on, John, you can't leave us like that. It's so good. So good. So good. So
one day we'll be able to ask John about that, all right?
Yeah, what'd you leave out, man? What'd you leave out?
And Jimmy, thanks for when you've come down, because you've talked to our guys, and it's been inspirational not only for our staff but our team. So thank you for what you do for college basketball and everyone.
All right, buddy. Thanks for joining us. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate you.